Welcome to Daily Metal, where every day a different metal album gets dissected for your sadistic listening pleasure. I'm the heavy metal lawyer, Emma, and in this show, I'll talk about why the music in these albums is so good and where they fall in the history of music's most wretched genre. Sorry I've been gone, y'all. Normally I pre-record these on the weekend, but I spent all of last weekend canvassing for Michael Hollingsworth, a tenant organizer running for city council here in Brooklyn. But a socialist campaign is actually a great transition to today's album, Cargando Cruces by Tendencia, which came out today, June 15th, in 2018. Tendencia is a Cuban death metal band with strong metalcore and slam influences and very politically charged lyrics, which, because I don't speak Spanish, I will probably butcher, so sorry ahead of time about that. The album opens with the slam tactic Asesino, which means murderer in Spanish. Following Asesino is El Chivitan de mi Barrio, which has a very cool death metal songo breakdown with the buzzsaw guitars rocking over some conga drums. There's that adage that metal is just Baroque music with distorted guitar, which is a reference to the guitar playing in metal specifically. But Tendencia's mix of Afro-Cuban percussion with death metal reminds you that the rhythms of metal solidly have their origins in American rock music, particularly the blues. Sango is a genre of Cuban music that essentially modernized rumba music by adding funky grooves to the traditional West African rhythms, which was accomplished by creating these cool hybrid drum kits that had both timbales and conga and a kick bass drum, sometimes snare drums, and other cymbals. It was the first popular music to really gain a lot of traction in Cuba following the Cuban Revolution. The album's title track, Cargando Cruces, which translates to carrying crosses, is one of the most metalcore influenced of the tracks, with that classic open string with guitar slides breakdown, do 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 do. It does have a classic ethereal 90s death metal style guitar solo, like something you would hear in a death record, that leads into another songo crossover breakdown before transitioning back to the metalcore sound that dominates the track. The track Solo Bebemos los días que hay noticiero has some Rage Against the Machine-esque slapped bass parts that really show off the technical range of the band, which is very refreshing in a genre like death metal, which is very often more of the same. Cannibal Corpse. The track Actitude, meanwhile, could fit on a Biohazard or Agnostic Front album if it were in English, and it exemplifies what I would call Latin arena metal. For those not familiar, metal is huge in Latin America, as initially chartered by early death metal bands like Sepultura from Brazil, and is solidified by more recent bands like Here Comes the Kraken from Mexico. And multiple countries host these huge open air festivals that make things like Ozzy Fest look like little shows in comparison, such as the Hell and Heaven Metal Festival in Mexico City, which has had as many as 30,000 attendees. 30,000! That's triple the number of people who live in my hometown. So bands like Tendencia know they're going to be playing these kind of shows and create songs that are perfect for crowd participation. However, politics for a long time kept Tendencia segregated from the international metal scene, and it still is not nearly as well known in the United States as a band like Sepultura. Tendencia has actually been around since 1994, carving a path for extreme metal in a very Catholic Cuba by incorporating indigenous music and singing about revolutionary topics, which gave it a pass both from the people of Cuba and from the communist government. For over a decade, however, the band was limited to playing in Venezuela, who by 2005 were fellow Bolivarians. But they finally began to break outside into the rest of the world in 2007 when they played in Spain, which led to other shows in Europe, like in Germany, as well as more conservative Latin American countries like Mexico. As far as I'm aware, though, they have only played a couple of shows in the United States, all of them apparently at Baby's All Right here in Brooklyn, and all made possible by the relaxing of tensions between the United States and Cuba under the Obama administration. Some quick history. Since 1962, the United States has imposed an inhumane embargo against Cuba because its people dared to overthrow a dictator, Fulgencio Batista, and rule itself by principles of collectivism rather than the greed of capitalism. While Cuba has made many amazing developments, especially in the realm of healthcare, despite the embargo still has kept the country isolated and poor. Even if you are critical of the Cuban government, there's an obvious double standard here with waging this economic war of attrition against Cuba under the guise of human rights, while it is official US policy to prop up the tyrannical governments in Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and elsewhere. And most importantly to this audience, there's a whole other awesome scene of metal with its own Cuban takes on the genre that we are deprived of due to the challenges imposed by the embargo. It is insane that a band in a country, a neighboring country of the United States, has only played in the United States a couple of times. So, yeah, metalheads for ending the Cuban embargo. Let's do this thing. And if you like this video, please subscribe, and hopefully I'll get my act together so that you can find out about the metal album that came out each day, why the music is so brutal, and where it fits in the history of the genre.